Hello, friends. Hello, hello. I am really excited for my show tonight. As you will notice, Peter is not here because this is my rodeo. As many of you know, I'm obsessed with the weather, and I take a pretty hard stance against a lot of people on a lot of issues. And one of those issues is weather modification and geoengineering. But I decided to be open minded, and I decided to reach out to someone that I've been watching for years. His name is Matthew, and I have him waiting here, about to bring him up. If you guys have any questions for him, please feel free to ask. He's a super smart guy. He went to Harvard, he went to MIT. He is brains. So, brains and beauty, I might add. So, I'm going to bring him up right now. Hi, Matthew.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you. So, why don't you give everyone like a little intro while we have people jumping in here, as to who you are and what you do?
Definitely. So I'm Matthew Cappucci, obviously. I work as a meteorologist, the senior meteorologist for My Radar. It is an app. Highly recommend. They also are the world's most comfortable t-shirts. I put these things on and it's like wearing a cloud. But I work pretty much every position there is in media weather. So I did 2.5 years at the local Fox station here in Washington, D.C., doing morning news. I work for My Radar. I work for the Washington Post, writing articles for them. I do local radio, so the PR affiliate in DC. I freelance for Sky News Arabia, BBC World News, DW News, pretty much all the various international outlets. I make appearances for the Australian news, written a couple of books on weather. And so it's funny, like if there's a way that weather is communicated, if it's like a modern type of medium, I try to be there. My goal is to be on all platforms. And so
Do you have a ham radio?
Do I have what?
A ham radio.
I don't. You know, that's one thing.
You got to get a ham radio.
I do. And it would be so useful when storm chasing, because I spend 2.5 months every year chasing tornadoes in the Great Plains. And a lot of my friends have either wireless radios, walkie-talkies, or ham radios. I need to get in on that.
I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised that you don't, but it's forgivable. And I am so jealous of your chasing schedule. Like, how? I don't. What do you tell people? Like, how do you explain to people that you are going to be like unavailable? Like, oh, I'm going to be chasing tornadoes. Okay, bye. Like,
right? It's so funny. Like when I was looking for TV jobs, I didn't want to take a full-time job because a full-time job would require I work all year round. And when it's tornado season, I'm wherever the tornadoes are. And so my employers all pretty much know if there's active weather, I'm there. Fortunately, My Radar is also as invested in storm chasing as I am, because A, it makes great content. People love learning. They love seeing the stuff out in the field. But B, we cover the entire country. And so the more that I can be out in the Deep South, on the Great Plains, with our core demographic, with our core audience, the better. And so it works as a win-win. But yeah, whenever I have, whether it be my friends or whether it be classes I'm taking for various different endeavors, having to tell them and be like, hey, I'm leaving. I don't know when I'm leaving. I'll be back. Not really sure when I'll be back. I'll see you at some point. I have to go chase tornadoes. Like my friends literally said, when will we be back? And I said, when the canola turns yellow. Like, that's when I come back.
I love that so much for you. When the red and the yellow aren't mixing together on the radar.
Pretty much. Yeah, like once, and even this year I came back too early due to like a rental car kerfuffle with the company. But yes. I wish I had stayed all of June. So next year I'll be out there for pretty much all of April, all of May, all of June. Like each year, it's kind of funny how it works out. It seems like, knock on wood.
I completely agree. I'm actually going to do that with you.
Yeah, it seems like early April is rather quiet. March seems busy across the deep south.
It does.
April starts off
60
quiet,
alley.
and then it's like the second I finish my taxes on April 14th, 15th, things pick up right thereafter. And so I literally have like the worst day of the year, which is just me drudging through my taxes,
As
getting
a
that done.
1099er, are you a 1099er?
Oh, so I have my radar as my main. What do you get? The I-9, the W-9? I don't know, like
Yep.
the full time
Yep.
gig. But then I usually have between 5 and 10 1099s to fill out per year.
Me too.
And it's the worst.
Because I'm an entrepreneur. Like what? What? It just makes
it's
no
great when
sense,
the money's
Matthew.
coming in. Yeah, like when the money's coming in, it feels awesome. And then
Oh, yeah, it
all
does.
my taxes at once, it's not so awesome anymore. And so I write the government a big check every year, buy them a couple Teslas. I finish my taxes. I hop in the car or I hop in a flight, and I'm in Tornado Alley, a couple hours later. Like last year, for example, I finished, or I guess this spring, but I finished my taxes on the 15th, and the 16th I flew out to Des Moines, Iowa, drove a couple hours west of
Big
Omaha.
tornado year. Big
Oh yeah.
tornado year in Iowa.
So this year Iowa didn't get much, but last year got a ton.
What?
Last year, tornadoes. This year, Iowa was really lucky. Just across the river in Nebraska was busy. But interestingly, last year, we always jokingly call it Iowa because you either get a ton of tornadoes or nothing. Like Iowa doesn't do things halfway. This year had very few. Last year, on April 26th, we had a day that was supposed to be like a, I don't want to say run-of-the-mill severe weather outbreak, but like we knew there'd be some severe weather and we knew that there'd be, a couple tornadoes. There wound up being something like 90 plus tornadoes. It was my first time experiencing a true tornado outbreak where I got facing one tornado. And by the time I like collected myself, another tornado was coming right behind it with a separate storm. I intercepted 4 high-end tornadoes that day from 3 different storms. Like I finished one. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another behind it. And I'm going to say it was great. And I'm always very careful using verbiage like that because we know
I get it.
People. But it was a good outbreak in that Iowa and Nebraska are so tornado trained and so weather savvy that out of the entire outbreak, I believe there was only one fatality, which obviously every fatality is tragic. But further to be like a high-end tornado outbreak with 3, 4, 5 tornadoes going through Omaha at rush hour, and to have such a limited casualty count really is a testament to the warning system and especially just how smart folks in Iowa and Nebraska are.
Amen to that. I could not think of a better weather aware group of people. And do you think that I like to call it the second coming of Twister had anything to do with like weather awareness this year? Because I don't know. I know that you're speaking at is it Chase? What's the big?
Yep, the Storm Chaser Convention. I'm pumped for that.
Eric Fox. I would love to go, but I saw that you were a speaker, and I was like, hell yeah! And I wasn't sure if you have any stats to verify what I'm about to say, but it seems like up until Texas, it seems like we haven't lost as many lives, especially with tornadoes this year. I think people were more aware, and I don't know if it's because of the Twister movie.
Yeah, so I wondered that. We've gone a few years since we've gotten like a classic high-end tornado outbreak across a populous area. Last year's, we were really fortunate. And even this year, we got a lot of tornadoes this year, a lot of tornadoes last year, but I felt like most of them largely avoided populous centers. The plains were pretty active, but both this year and last year, Dixie Alley, so the deep south, where there's greater population density, was behaved a little better. And you have to go back to, I believe, 2021 when Rolling Fork,
Rolling
Mississippi was,
Rock.
yep,
Yeah, rolling. Is
Rolling
it Rolling
Fork.
Rock? Rolling Fork. It's Rolling Rock is the beer, isn't it?
I
I
think
think
so, yeah.
Rolling Rock is the beer. Yeah, and I'm always like Rolling Rock, Mississippi, and they're like, no, Lacey, that's not what we call it.
Yeah, and you have to go to I believe 2021 before you had a tornado with a double-digit fatality count. Don't quote me on that,
Yeah.
but at least qualitatively, we've gone several years without a high-end episode. But tornadoes are sexier than floods. And this will sound politically incorrect, but it's true. Tornadoes are more visually appealing. They're more exciting than floods. They have more people chasing them, more people covering them. And unfortunately, that plays into what we see on social media and the media in general. And so anytime there's a tornado that gets good footage, it's blasted across the Today Show, Good Morning America, tornado sighted in Iowa. But with floods, we don't really do that. And I think that translates into how we act. If there's a tornado warning, we're all packing up and getting to shelter within 2, 3, 4 minutes. If there's a flash flood warning, we're waiting 30, 40, 50 minutes. In the case of Camp Mystic, they waited upwards of 45 minutes before taking action. And I think society just underestimates flood danger. And every couple years, we get a high-end flood episode like this. We also certainly have an overwarning issue when it comes to floods, and I think this exemplified that.
Yes.
Seven different flash flood warnings for Kerr County within the preceding year and a half, 2 years. It goes to show you that yeah, people get desensitized to flooding, and so floods just so often are non-events, and then every so often you just get this massive flood fatality event, and I don't know
Once in a lifetime.
that cycle. Yeah, I mean, think about right now. We had this absolutely horrific event that killed more people than any tornado in the US has, dating back to 1925. You have to go back to March 18th, 1925, the tri-state tornado, to have a tornado with a greater fatality count. And yet, so it's been like 100 years.
That
And
was
yet,
like Xenia, right? The Xenia tornado.
Xenia was 74. So that was part of a larger outbreak, but there haven't been any individual tornadoes since, genuinely, I believe, since either
I
the
was a
20s
part
or
of the
30s.
tri-state. Sorry. Don't listen to me. Listen to Matthew.
No worries. Xenia was April 3rd, 1974. And that outbreak did kill more people overall, but for individual tornadoes. And I feel like, this happened July 4th weekend. It's the 17th today. It's mostly already out of the news cycle. And that it's
Mostly.
a disturbing, depressing thing to think that, the country's already beginning to forget. It's like after every school shooting, there's talk for a
Yeah.
week, and then unfortunately we move on. And I understand that the country can't perseverate forever, but because people are already, I don't want to say forgetting about it, but they're moving on, we're already desensitizing ourselves to the next high-end episode. And we're close to that happening.
I was in a space not too long ago and people wanted to know why we weren't talking about the flood. And I said to them, I was like, I've brought it up like 3 times. People don't like to have the uncomfortable conversations. People don't like to be reminded that last week a bunch of kids died. Like
Yeah.
that's not something people go on to social media to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like they go on social media to get away from their everyday life and their personification of who they really think they are and like getting away from their family and their bosses and et cetera, et cetera. Um, it's it's uncomfortable, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. And along with that conversation is what I'm hearing. A lot of people blaming this on cloud seeding. And I remember where I was like 3 years ago when I was approached with the topic. And I literally looked at this person who is a very close family. I would consider this person like a sister. And I was like, that is the fucking stupidest thing that I've ever heard. And I I I like I said that I did some research on it, and damn it, I get it. I get why they have gotten so far into the theories of cloud seeding. Um, but I think it's time to come back to Earth, and I was hoping that you could help us with that. Like, did
Yeah.
cloud seeding have any part in the Texas floods?
No, none. And I think you're exactly right. It 10, 20, 30 years ago, conspiracy theories were from crazy Uncle Larry at Thanksgiving. Every family has one crazy Uncle Larry. We all know who it is. We're all related to someone who's like that.
Yep.
But I feel like nowadays these conspiracies are becoming increasingly mainstream, and I think that's because they're talked about more. In the past, if you had an outlandish belief, odds are everybody else around you would go, "That's interesting," and kind of look down on you. And I think collectively society would drag you back towards normalcy. But nowadays, with the internet, people can connect over anything. And so everybody gravitates towards these echo chambers that reinforce their pre existing worldview, whether or not it's commensurate with reality. And suddenly you have a large subset of the population believing in things like Jewish space lasers, like all the other crazy conspiracies out there. I mean, the fact that in 2025, we have the intelligence to create artificial intelligence, or we can privately send folks up to space and come back down, or we can launch a satellite or a rocket up, and that same rocket booster can come back down and land on a pedestal in the middle of the
Right.
ocean, shows that we have more intelligence in society than we've ever had before. And yet, in this same year, we have a huge subset of the population that genuinely believes that the Delta flight that's flying past my window right now is pouring mind control agents into the skies behind it. And so we're seeing this bimodal distribution of intelligence and also common sense and scientific literacy as smart people get smarter because they have, as the prayer goes, wisdom to know the difference,
Oh,
and the less educated people who are being left behind. And I'm just seeing this big societal split on intelligence.
and like I hate that my everyone knows that I come from a political background, and these are my people. These are
Yeah.
my people. And I don't want to be torn down the middle, you guys. Like I want to come to a healthy understanding of what the weather is. And I'm not trying to be patronizing. Like that came off a little patronizing. Um, but I really want I really I want you guys to be able to ask questions.
Yeah.
If you think that if you're watching this right now and you think of someone that would be interested in this and maybe have a question, please, please, please share our stream, tag people, like it. That helps with the algorithm. And if you aren't following Matthew already, please make sure to do that. I forgot to, I was just so excited to start talking tornadoes. I'm not going to lie. That I just went right into things. So, with that being said, I don't think that my people, Matthew, I don't think that my people believe that the chemtrails are pouring mind control. Um Now I know a whole bunch more people who believe in chemtrails than don't. But I'm I'm just like, okay, Ricky Bobby, like let's move on.
Yeah. And
What is going on with that?
I hate to say it, but I largely blame the pandemic.
Oh
I
my
blame two things.
god,
I
that's
blame the
such a good
pandemic.
point.
Yeah, I blame both the pandemic and I blame society. And here's why. the pandemic was the first event in a very long time where everybody was uncertain. Every official, every person who was supposed to know what to do next was uncertain about what actions to take. I think everybody still has that inherent desire to feel that somebody more wise, more smart, more responsible than them is in control of something. And it's a very unsettling feeling for those in society to realize that sometimes there's a situation when we're all unsure. And so I think in the pandemic, people were exposed to scientific uncertainty for the first time. Politicians were making imperfect decisions based on imperfect scientific analysis and based on trying to quantify scientific uncertainty. There were a lot of things we didn't know about the pandemic, and obviously our response was flawed. Hindsight is 2020. A lot of people agreed with policies made. A lot of people, myself included, largely disagreed with the bulk of the policies made and passed. And I think the issue is that you had uncertainty by the scientists passed on to politicians who don't know how to interpret uncertainty and made flawed policies that were either all or nothing policies. And those got so wrapped up into these buy fiat things. It seemed like the masks somehow became political. I saw people at the beach wearing masks and social distancing at the beach years later, which we know is ultra silly. I agree. I fully agree.
Matthew.
Really.
Thank you for that.
course.
I think from all of us, thank you.
We completely effed up the entire pandemic response. And granted, that's not my sector of science, but it goes to show you what happens when you have uncertainty in a field, but Americans want yes or no answers. And sometimes there aren't yes or no answers. And the politicians want yes or no answers. They want things that boil down to simple things like 2 weeks to flatten the curve, or they want expressions like, social distancing, 2 meters. Why 2 meters? That was random. Why outside? That's random. I was in my hotel apartment and you had to, way back when, even though I was the only one in the gym, I still had to wear a mask. And I'm on the treadmill running 8 miles, actively dying with the mask on. And some lady comes in and sprays this chemical thing to antibacterialize whatever the entire gym. And I thought to myself, how
I'm breathing that in.
Right? I'm like, you're going to do more damage to me, a healthy 23-year-old male at the time, running 10 miles on the treadmill by fumigating me with whatever this antibacterial thing is. I'm wearing a mask and running 7-minute miles compared to if there was some sort of exposure for someone my age. And so I get it. There is public distrust in the science, and there's public distrust in media. The media largely covered, for example, only one side of various political issues. We all know there are flaws with the media. And so that makes my job incredibly difficult because people don't trust the media and they don't trust scientists. Enter scientists in the media. And so I'm now trying to work with a society that's been trained to not trust folks like me. I'm trying to work on platforms that people have been trained not to trust. And I'm trying to teach science, and people these days somehow don't trust the scientists, even though I'm conveying uncertainty in a way that people can understand. There have been times, when I'm doing the forecast on TV, I've gone on air and said, here's what I know, here's what I don't know, here's why I don't know it. And my goal is to sort of pull back the hood a little bit, pull back the curtain so people can sort of see what goes into a forecast, the science behind it, and say, you know what? It is a scientific process. That makes sense. We get why he's uncertain. Let's listen to his uncertainty and let's listen to sort of what he's expecting and why. And I get that respect with weather. And I think I found a way to, regardless of people's political status, regardless of people's education levels, I found a way to sort of teach them a little bit about the weather and the atmosphere. And it works so well. I'm popular in red state America. I'm popular in blue state America. I'm popular on the coasts. I can be, walking into a college classroom here in DC and people know me and they trust me, or I can walk down into the Piggly Wiggly in Alabama, or I can walk down to the Dollar General down the street and people can still have that same conversation with me and it works. And I wish that would serve as a way for me to enter into conversation about other sectors of science that people aren't as trusting with.
Well, I get that you brought in a lot of viewers, obviously, but I I can tell you right now that most of my views are on replay, and I have a like 90% conservative of audience. So please, I what you were saying is so relevant because it's the Make America Healthy Again people that I'm hearing this the most from. And meanwhile, I'm okay, bye Carol. Um I am very I am just like don't put me into a certain group. I
Yeah.
if I feel a certain way about something, I'm gonna feel it, and that doesn't make me crazy one way or the other. It doesn't alienate me from one group or another group. Um, but we're seeing a lot of that, and I would love I'd love it if you could just break down um kind of what you were saying, like if people would trust me on this topic. Um like as much as they do on other topics. Like what do you have to say to those people? Like what we had we had briefly discussed about geoengineering, and that's a huge discussion topic against not against amongst the Maha people. Can you explain what geoengineering is?
Yeah. And I want to get back to that topic you mentioned a moment ago about how
I
most of your
know I
followers.
brought up 3
Oh,
different
sure.
things. I just, like I know we only have a limited amount of time, and I'm, like, throwing it all against the wall at you.
Yeah. First, I'll answer geoengineering, but I do want to come back to how you said 90% of your audience was red state America, because I find that fascinating, and I'd love to delve into that. So geoengineering is a blanket term that basically says anything you do to artificially modify the environment. Now, geoengineering can technically involve you driving down the street and pumping out exhaust from your car. That's a small scale geoengineering. Geoengineering can also involve the hypothetical release of aerosols in the upper atmosphere to block the sun. That's large scale geoengineering. Fortunately, we haven't done any large scale experiments with geoengineering to that scale that could modify planetary weather, basically to kind of mimic a volcano. Volcanoes put up a lot of gas, a lot of aerosol, and a lot of water vapor, and that can bring down Earth's temperature. So there's a small subset of people who want to consider geoengineering as a way to artificially dim the sun or artificially decrease Earth's ability to take in and trap heat in the atmosphere to offset the effects of human-induced climate change. I also agree that I don't want to do that. I have no desire. I don't like the idea of playing God. I don't like the idea of putting on a band-aid solution to fix a problem that we've already caused. If we're knocking the atmosphere out of its so-called stable state through human-induced climate change, we either have to adjust our infrastructure for whatever new climate we're heading towards, or we have to change how much we're emitting. I don't like the idea of saying, you know what, let's keep doing what we're doing, and let's also tack on this band-aid solution. I think it's a bad idea. And I think there's no control group. There's no way to test something on planet Earth without, we don't have a backup planet Earth, if that makes sense. And so I agree with
No.
folks who don't want to do geoengineering. And I agree with the laws that are being passed to ban geoengineering in certain states. I think it makes sense.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm sure there are people in the audience saying, really? That an atmospheric scientist would say that? Yes. I agree with those ideas to try to ban geoengineering in certain states and in certain contexts. I think researching it more so we can understand more about it isn't a bad thing. I support researching anything. I support anything we can do to learn more without modifying the atmosphere. Great. Now, here's the caveat. People will lump smaller scale things in, like cloud seeding on a local level, to geoengineering. I'm not here to say whether or not cloud seeding should happen, but cloud seeding, on the grand scheme of things, is a very small scale, a very small form of geoengineering. Cloud seeding essentially involves going up to a marginal cloud, a cloud that might want to produce precipitation, but honestly, it needs a little
Low
help.
lying?
It's not even a low lying thing. It's a matter of, I look out my window right now, I see white puffy cumulus clouds. They're not
Right.
going to rain, but they're still up there. So a cumulus cloud is just moisture. Even if you're in the Sahara Desert, sometimes you'll probably look up and you'll see a couple puffy clouds and you'll think, wow, I'm in the desert. I wish that moisture would fall. And so the process of cloud seeding just means taking a small airplane, flying up into the cloud, and adding little teeny small particulates of something, a very small, minute amount. For example, salt, table salt, but just in a smaller, more portable form. Silver iodide.
You're
Various
right.
compounds
Silver
like that.
I just
Yeah.
made the correlation. I'm like, oh my God, that's what.
Yeah. And the purpose is basically you have very small cloud droplets. They're so small they float. That's how a cloud floats. The droplets are
Yep.
little. They're also, it's water vapor initially, which is a gas, then you have the condensate. But the purpose of cloud seeding is to get those smaller droplets to coalesce onto something. So you have smaller droplets that coalesce and they form a larger droplet, a raindrop that will fall. And research suggests this happens. I mean, the research suggests this is a practice that works marginally, mixed results in a very marginal environment where it's dry, it's not going to rain. You might get a
Texas.
cloud to produce a little teeny bit of rain. And if the cloud was already going to rain, you might produce 5% more, maybe 10% more. And this happens only in marginal environments because let's be honest, if the cloud's already going to rain, it's going to rain. If the environment is at saturation already, the cloud doesn't need any help. And in the case of an event like Texas, for example, the environment was not only at saturation, but you already had 50,000 foot tall thunderstorms
Right.
producing 3 to 4 hour rainfall rates. And so the atmosphere didn't need any help. And so I think it's important for folks to understand that things like cloud seeding are just an entirely different scale than something like these theoretical processes to dim the sun. I think the other thing too, politicians are conflating ideas. Politicians are thinking, for example, the chemtrail conspiracy. That's just flat out BS. It's a conspiracy. People think the lines behind airplanes are chemicals used for nefarious purposes. They think they're shooting out some sort of gas. Let me tell folks something. Gases are invisible. Every gas is invisible. If you see something behind an airplane, it's water vapor because gases are literally invisible.
Yeah.
Always. The definition of a gas is an odorless, non-visible substance. You cannot see gases. I want everybody at home to know that. And so airplanes just produce water vapor. And sometimes you get small itty bitty particulates of soot or whatever from dirty airplane engines that will come out the back. And those will nucleate clouds, essentially inadvertent cloud seeding. That's happened at airports before, where you'll have small amounts of snowflakes made by dirty commercial jetliner engines going up and producing infinitesimally small specks that act as precipitation nuclei. But I think the issue is that you have politicians saying geoengineering bad. Okay, fine. I agree. Let's not do large scale, Earth scale experiments to dim the sun. But they'll also say, and the lines behind airplanes. Two different ideas. One is a legitimate concern. One is a conspiracy. And I wish that people understood nuance, and I wish that people understood the difference. But something tells me the Florida Attorney General isn't going home at night making himself a Venn diagram of what's real, what's not real, what is actually going on at scale, what's not going on at scale. Or something tells me Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't going home and saying, precipitation nucleation, how does that happen? What? Yeah. So
we do not claim her.
I don't think her own family probably does. And
sorry. I just made a whole bunch of enemies with that statement. What is it with the UAE cloud seeding topic? Like, it comes up in everything. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, last year in October, I think it was October, there were some severe floods across the United Arab Emirates where they got between 3 and 5 inches worth of rain, which for them is like 6 months to a year's worth of rain. Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, that'd be like if Phoenix got 7, 8, 9 inches in a row. It just doesn't happen like that. The UAE is a desert. Dubai is a desert. And on that particular day, you had an upper level low, so pocket of cold air, low pressure and spin north of Dubai, north of the UAE. And that served as the genesis for several what are called MCSs, or mesoscale convective systems, large-scale thunderstorm clusters. And after the first one moved through, that essentially deposited an air mass boundary that a secondary one came through on, and a third. And you were able to get torrential rainfall for a couple hours across Dubai that wound up producing a significant amount of rain. And oh, wait, you're in the desert. There's no place for it to drain to, particularly considering Dubai is flat. And so the airport had to cancel flights. The runways were underwater. Much of the downtown was underwater. And it garnered international media attention. However,
like
people
Texas?
said, what was that?
Kind of like Texas?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And people, however, said, wait a second. Dubai does cloud seeding. Was this caused by cloud seeding? And again, it's a different scale. Dubai's meteorological department does have research ongoing into how they can get marginal cumulus clouds to produce more rain. And they claim mixed results. They claim, yeah, sometimes it works. And I'm sure sometimes it works marginally. But once again, it's a scale thing. You can get a cloud that's already there to produce a little more moisture. You're not going to generate a massive mesoscale convective system, something huge. It's like, these downpour complexes were on the same scale as a hurricane, at least in terms of width and size. And the latent heat release from those would be equivalent to several nuclear bombs per minute if you did all the math out. And we just don't have that much technology and that much energy. It's like how people think we're steering hurricanes. Well, no, because a single hurricane churns through 200 times more energy than the entirety of humanity produces. And so it's a scale thing. It's like, I had a clip that went viral the other day where it was saying, claiming cloud seeding can produce a massive devastating flood like you have in Texas or like you have in Dubai is like claiming an overweight person cannonballing into California's ocean is going to cause a Pacific-wide tsunami. And notice, I have to be very careful. I think I use the verbiage either plus-sized or overweight.
You did. You were very PC about it.
Right?
Trust me.
Right? I say this as someone who used to be 25 pounds heavier, but no, in all seriousness.
I just lost 70 pounds in the last year, so I'm able to laugh at this.
Oh my God, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. I'm not running 7-minute miles though, but
sometime I need to hear your secret, but in any case, huge congrats. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So guys, if you are new here, once again, I am going to remind y'all. My name is Lacey. I normally talk about true crime stuff. This is Matthew. He talks about weather stuff. And what we have in common is a love for tornadoes. And well, I wouldn't just say that. Like, all convective systems can be included. Like, we love the weather. And one of us went to Harvard and MIT, and it was not me. One of us went to Ohio University and had a great time. That was me. And we would love your support if you would follow us on X. I am at Lacey J Meeks, and this is at Matthew Cappucci.
Cappucci.
Cappucci. I like that. And then on YouTube, I am at Criminally Confident, because I am too confident for my own good. I don't know. Are you on YouTube, Matthew?
I'm not. I should be. My employer is. You can follow my radar on YouTube.
Well, if they need a cute girl from Ohio who brings in a large conservative group of people to work for them, I'm here.
I don't know.
I went through all the weather spotting classes, so I do have that going for me.
Maybe someday we should do a storm chase collab. We'll make that happen.
Stop it, Matthew. I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, I have backup storm chase helmets. I have 2 or 3 of them, and so I'm always
tell
down.
People how important helmets are, and they just think I'm an idiot. And I'm like, no, you should have a helmet.
I have.
People, if you are watching from like true crime, please have a helmet if you
Oh
live
yeah.
in Tornado Alley.
So I have my own helmet that I use not only for debris but also giant hail, because when I'm storm chasing, oftentimes nearest to the tornado, you have what's called the RFD, the wraparound of cool air,
Gorilla hail.
also can bring down that gorilla hail. And so, like, there goes my helmet. Here, for example, is an actual size replica of a hailstone that I found on May 28th of last year in Hockley County,
Is
Texas.
that marshmallows?
I wish. It's 3D printed, but this is 4.63 inches across. And this isn't even the largest one I found. And it goes to show you that if this thing is coming down from the sky at 110 miles per hour,
That's going to
yeah.
kill you. That's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
kill you.
And if nothing else, it's going to knock some sense into you so you don't do it again.
Are you from the Midwest? Because that sounded like a very Midwest thing to say. I'm just saying.
It's funny. People ask me that. I think it's because I grew up with my grandfather. We lived in his house the first couple of years of my life. And so, like, my friends will make fun of me for saying rubbish rather than trash can. And I think
rubbish.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. And I think I picked it up from him, but my friends will be like, "You're from Massachusetts. Why do you say that?" I'm like,
No.
for several years.
Oh my God, Matthew. The last place I wanted to hear that you were from was Massachusetts. I just finished the Karen Reed trial. I can't. Please don't talk about Massachusetts anymore. Everybody in my chat now is going to be like, no.
As soon as I can, I'm planning to at least, if not move to the Midwest, buy a house in rural Texas. I just love it out there. That's where I'm most at peace. I feel like, smaller town America, the people are oftentimes nicer, more welcoming. Granted, I had a great childhood, a great time growing up, but I just love that small town feel of people who actually know their neighbors, are nice. I love rural America, and I could absolutely see myself moving there someday. Probably someday soon.
I think that, like, you would fit in great in one of the Carolinas, Georgia, Texas. I think you would fit in great here, and you would love the weather here because we get all 4 seasons, which is why I hate it. Because as someone who has rheumatoid arthritis, I just want to be like, I just want to be in like the warm weather all year round. And
me too.
Yeah, I've lived in DC. I've done that grind. Nope. No thanks. No thank you, Jesus. I will politely decline. Thank you very much.
Right now, I feel like I'm in Satan's steam room. The dew point here is like 76 degrees in DC. It's insane. But yeah, growing up in Massachusetts, we averaged 43 inches of snow per year. Now I'm down to about 13, 14 inches in DC. And I love it because I get the seasons, but I don't need to shovel the seasons as much as I used to. It's insane.
I wonder if that's why you came up on my algorithm so much, is because you were from Massachusetts. And like, I've been like dogging on the state for 2 years over this trial.
You know what's funny? I have a bigger following from the South than I do Massachusetts, even though I'm from there. And especially, like, I have a huge following from West Texas, rural West Texas, the Permian Basin. I have a huge following from there too. And I love it. And you know what I've said for years? I think a meteorologist would actually have a really good time running for political office, because very rarely do you get people, and here's why. Very rarely do you get people who understands both sides of America. And what I mean by that is, I grew up on the coast. I understand how the coast lives. I understand why the coast votes the way they do. And yet I spend months every year in red state America. I spend months in the Great Plains. I spend months in farm country. And folks out there live a completely different way than on the East Coast. And I guarantee if I grew up in Hockley County, Texas, I would look at the coasts and say, what on earth are they doing? What is wrong with them? Just as people from the middle of the country are oftentimes looked down on from people at the coasts. And it frustrates me that you have two vastly different ways of living in the country, but people don't venture outside their bubbles. Nobody from Boston, Massachusetts is vacationing at Lake of the Ozarks. Nobody from Texarkana is going to LA for vacation.
Right.
There's just not much crossover at all. And if people took the time to get outside their bubbles and get to a different part of America where folks live a completely different way, they might not always agree with how the other people do things, but they'd at least understand. I don't always agree with how folks on the East Coast do things, and I don't always agree with how folks in Kansas do things. But if nothing else, by bouncing between the two and by knowing and being a part of both communities, I can get why people believe the things they do, vote the way they do. And I wish there was more of that, because if people had more just open conversations with folks who are different from them, if people from, goodness gracious, Washington, D.C., the bluest place in the world, went down to Slidell, Louisiana, and sat down at my favorite bar in Slidell and had conversations with the folks at the bar, they'd say, wow, I'm understanding a little bit more. But the issue is, in society, we're trained to win an argument. We're not trained to argue, to understand the other perspective. And I think that if there was someone who was good at both, if there was someone who took the time to understand both sets of people, they'd have a decent chance of winning. I mean, I would love to, down the road, run for office, because I feel like I've gotten to know so many small town communities in America. And I feel like I've gotten to know and gotten to love the central US just as much, if not more, than the coasts. I mean, I plan to move out to Texas one of these
I'll
days.
run your campaign.
I would love that. And I wish there was more of that in America, and there's just not. And there needs to be more conversationality.
I think that's also important reason to go out of your comfort zone, especially when you send your kids to school. I could have gone to the most conservative school in Ohio. I went to the most liberal school in Ohio, and it taught me why I believe in what I believe. It taught me how to argue. It taught me how to debate in a healthy way. We are not seeing healthy debates and healthy arguments online. I don't engage in them. Like, I'm specifically looking in the camera. Like, it is not worth my time to engage with people who don't know how to who are just right fighters, who are don't know how to be like, mea culpa, like I was wrong, like you've proved your point. But oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more.
And you know what frustrates me too? There's no middle ground on anything. And it's always that on social media, the largest and the loudest viewpoints that are repeated the most are the ones that are heard the most. It's like with climate change, for example. I detest both extremes of the climate change conversation, because in my mind,
you could win in an election. Everything that you're saying right now, you could win.
Well, I think to myself, what people need to understand is there's no such thing as a good or bad climate. There's a climate to which we built our infrastructure around. You can't tell me that northern Russia wouldn't be happy if we warmed 7, 8, 9 degrees. Northern Canada, Nunavut, would love it if we warmed several degrees. But something tells me the Deep South would not be happy about that. And so no matter what the climate does, people will be happy or they'll be upset. The issue with climate change is that it's an infrastructure problem. We've built our infrastructure around a certain climate that's existed for so long. And now if we nudge it in one direction, well, that's a problem for our infrastructure. And so often people get caught up on what's a good climate, what's a bad climate, these arbitrary, artificial numbers, these imaginary thresholds that don't exist. And they don't understand that Earth was in a stable state and we've nudged it towards one extreme. And in my mind, as a scientist trying to communicate that, climate hippies do as much damage to my cause of education as climate denialists. You have people out there who stick their head in the sand saying, la, 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 climate change isn't happening.
Not me anymore. Not me anymore.
Right? Like we see it in the weather conditions that we're experiencing. But simultaneously, you have people saying, oh my gosh, it was hot out today. Climate change. I'm like, no, Betsy, it's summer. It's always going to be hot in the summer. And there has to be this in between. But it frustrates me seeing people chain themselves to highway interstates or cement themselves to statues or spray paint Mona Lisa orange. These asinine stunts that only serve to turn people off to an actual productive dialogue and conversation. I don't expect everybody to agree with me and even accept the science or accept the facts that I'm communicating as a scientist. But if I'm not able to have a conversation because climate hippies or climate extremists on either side have turned people off from conversation, preventing that dialogue is a disservice to all of us.
I'm kind of like speechless. That was so eloquently said by a
Thanks.
Harvard grad, but like,
and that's another thing I saw at Harvard. When I went there, there was so much extremism on either side. I thought to myself, like, for example, every poster in the hallway at Harvard used gender neutral language. Everything was either Sam or Pat, and not to get into that whole debate. But I just thought to myself, this is an extreme example of one of many different beliefs held by the student body, or many different, practices that are just an extreme end of a spectrum. And
that's
everything.
crazy.
Oh yeah, everything at college campuses these days tends to be on the extreme end of a spectrum, either end of the spectrum. I don't like extreme anything. I mean, and I think as a society, we need to understand that extreme anything is
comment.
bad.
I'm sorry. That comment made me. But don't you forget it.
But like religious extremism, bad. Climate extremism, bad. Extreme couponing. I would not want to be the next person in line behind an extreme couponer at the Piggly Wiggly as they're trying to get their bill down to 86 cents. Extreme anything is bad. But on social media, only the extreme viewpoints are heard. And in science, people are extreme about either end of a spectrum. And in politics, people are extreme about either end of whatever. And I just wish people would take the time to not be extreme about anything. Extreme stunts, extreme dieting, bad. Extreme anything is bad. I mean, if I said to you, I'm an extreme.
I just fell in love with you. I just fell in love with you. I'm married, but I just fell in love with you. Like, I don't know how we're going to make it work, Matthew, but we're going to make it work.
We'll find a way. But to your point, yeah, I wish there were more rational voices in the media and their own.
But for real, like, if I could like crowdfund my way to sit in the back seat for my birthday, I will be 39 next year. And my birthday is May 7th. So right in the middle. I know. You know where I'm going with this.
Well, you have my contact number. You have my email, right? I'll give you my number and we'll touch base and we'll make something happen.
I'm sorry. Oh my God, there are people that are wearing headphones. I'm so sorry. That was like so necessary. I'm not storm chasing fake. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm so excited.
That was like me the first time I told my parents, I'm like, you know what? I'm going storm chasing this year. If I can't take a truck, I'll rent a car, but I'm going. I remember telling my parents for years, I was like, I'm going to drive to Moore, Oklahoma when I get my license. My mother's like, no, you're not.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Joplin, here I come.
Right?
I
was like, I'm going down there. I'm going to learn. I'm going to be in the field. I'm going to learn this stuff. I'm going to chase. And nowadays, it's funny, 8-9 years later, my mother actually wants to go storm chasing. She actually has an interest in it. She unfortunately tore something in her leg this year and had to be on crutches for like a month and a half in a wheelchair for a little while. But she's back to normal now. But next year she's planning to come out. And I don't know if she's going to be terrified or blindly trusting. I don't want to make her time, but I feel like there's a chance.
I believe you now. Take me home. Take me home. Okay.
Well, I just okay.
What?
I was just going to say, like, I don't even necessarily know if my employer, and I have the best employers ever, but I don't even know if they know what I do all day and how it works. So, like, I want to take my boss out. I want to take him storm chasing just so he sees what it's like.
Nope, because then he's liable. He's liable.
Good point. I just like when they sign the storm chase checks and they're like, pay to the order of storm chasing. I'm like,
I like this question.
I do too. So, Valhalla, and I apologize if I pronounced the name incorrectly.
No,
but
it's Valhalla. You're good. You're good.
Oh, Valhalla, good to meet you. Love your profile picture. You say, what is a stable climate? It's a matter of timeline, isn't it? Well, okay. And so you mentioned Ice Age. A stable climate is a climate that will just stay as it is without any external factors nudging it in either direction. So I want you to think of, for example, let me think of a good example. Let's say, for example, we have a hill and we place a little ball on top of the hill. The ball is balanced, but if you nudge it in either direction, it's going to fall down the hill and it's going to move and accelerate towards another stable state, which might be at the bottom of the hill when it comes to rest. So those are stable states. Sometimes you have a stable state and you have an unstable state. So an unstable state would be anything where if left unperturbed, the environment will still start shifting in either direction. So there are three different stable states of Earth's climate. One is a hothouse Earth, where all the ice is melted, where the atmosphere is very hot. It has a lot of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases in it. We're markedly warmer than we are right now. And essentially every place is tropical. And we've been in that state before. Now we also have another stable state called snowball Earth, where the entire Earth is basically glaciated and you have glaciers down in mid-latitudes and it's inhospitable for much of the global surface. And it's completely different than it is now. Those are both stable states. Once you get into a snowball Earth, it's very difficult to get out of a snowball Earth unless you get enough gases emitted from a volcano to start trapping heat. Ironically, the way you get into a hothouse Earth is also somewhat similar in some ways. Interestingly, too, the way you get into a snowball Earth can also be from a volcano with too many aerosols and too much cloud cover and whatnot, preventing heat from coming in and causing the ice caps to grow. And then you have more white, shiny stuff reflecting sunlight away and you cool the Earth too. So those are both opposite ends of the extreme. But we also have this temperate Earth. We're in a stable state right now. We have sort of the perfect balance where we're a temperate climate, where part of the Earth is a glacier, both the poles, and part of the Earth is tropical. We're in this nice little happy state. And the issue is that while we are in a stable state, it is an unstable equilibrium. And what I mean by that is if you nudge us in either direction, we could go either way. We could accelerate towards a snowball. We could accelerate towards a hothouse. And so with regard to the snowball, yeah, if we had a bunch of volcanic eruptions, we would have the Earth losing a lot of sunlight and we'd turn into a snowball and take hundreds and hundreds of years, but it could happen. But likewise, if we melt the polar ice caps, then we are not reflecting as much sunlight away and we start to accelerate and we start to have more sunlight coming in and we have a warmer atmosphere, and the warmer atmosphere has more water vapor. And guess what? That water vapor also traps the heat and we're accelerating towards a hothouse Earth. And so we were in a stable state. We sort of nudged ourselves out of that stable state. We're on an unstable equilibrium because we're accelerating towards a hotter scenario right now. And I mean, it is something that is happening. It's what we call positive feedback mechanisms. We're kind of giving ourselves positive feedback towards a hut scenario. And so, yes.
So like every time you go work out and you get Starbucks afterwards, like that's like the positive feedback method, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You're not cooling down your body temperature. You're warming it up. Same thing here.
Oh my goodness. That was a lot and extremely interesting. And I didn't even rather get to like half of my questions. So, Matthew, I know that you have something going on tonight. Are you going to be willing to come back another time?
100%. I'll do this regularly if you like. I have tutoring at about 8. I pushed it back 10 minutes. You probably saw me emailing her earlier on, but I have to tutor Annalise. She's a very sweet student from New Mexico who wants to be an astronomer. Very talented, very brilliant. But,
I'm glad she isn't going to go work for the company Astronomer after today.
Oh, I heard about that. Ooh. Not a fan of affairs, and certainly if I was having an affair, which I'm not because I'm hopelessly single, no one loves me. But if I was to have an affair in this alternate landscape where I wouldn't have any morals, I also would not be caught in public doing so on camera.
Coldplay concert. At a Coldplay concert.
Like Jumbotron. And also, like, play it off. Nobody would have noticed if they hadn't been like,
they were so obvious. Like,
it's like a toddler with the guilty face. Everybody knows a toddler when they have the guilty face.
Oh my God, there has been so much tonight. There has been admissions of love. There has been promises of lifetimes experiences of a lifetime. There has been compromising on like geoengineering and cloud seeding and like things that I never thought I'd hear. Like, guys, this was incredible. Such a good stream. Please, please make sure to give this a like, reshare it, retweet it. I am criminally confident on YouTube and Lacey J. Meeks on X and Matthew Cappucci at X. That's how you can find him. And please make sure to say thank you to our guest. He was incredible. Thank you so much, Matthew. This was I've never looked forward to a birthday like I'm looking forward to 39. Like, if we can make this happen, oh my god. There's always a tornado on my birthday. Always.
I wish I had that luxury. I'm August 13th. Instead, I have a meteor shower, the Percy meteor shower every year. And every year, the shooting stars go by, and I wish for the same thing, which is someone to watch the meteor shower with. Hasn't happened yet, but someday it will.
Oh my god, chat, please help him. Let's do it. Okay, Matthew, I know you got to run, so if you got to jump, you can jump.
Sounds good. Will see you
this again.
Yeah, definitely. I'm down whenever. Just text me. You have my information. We'll make this happen again. Thank you all. It's been very good meeting everyone. And yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Bye. See you soon. Thank you, Valhalla, for sharing his information. Oh my god, Matthew is so great. I have been following him for quite some time. And I don't scream, y'all, but the idea of being able to go chase tornadoes is everything with someone who like knows what the hell they're doing. Like, I know someone got in trouble. I know what I'm doing with the weather. And my husband keeps saying, like, Lacey, you should drop the true crime stuff and just like do a daily weather forecast, because you always know when there's going to be a squall coming through. And I'm like, that's not my job. I did not go to school for that. That is not my job. Everyone will poke holes, but I know. And I know a bunch of people usually. I can't read the chat. I know a bunch of people are in here because of Matthew. So leave the forecasting up to Matthew and the true crime analytics to me. I love the fact that y'all came out in numbers tonight. Thank you so much. And I would love it if you could subscribe to my channel on YouTube, especially that, or X. That would be awesome too. And all of my information is in the video details wherever you found it. So hopefully we can make this a more regular thing with Matthew, so you all can get out all of your questions, all of them, because we didn't even get to half of them tonight. I've been fangirling over Matthew for like a year, and my husband's in the other room. He knows it. I mean, and the fact that I could get him to come on here meant a lot to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I am here every Thursday night, like a bad disease, from 7 to 9 p.m. But I knew that Matthew had to get going at 8 p.m. So I am going on a pool date in my backyard with my husband. And oh, you love my makeup tutorials. Thank you. I do that sometimes when I'm feeling, out there. Oh my god, I had a live stream this week, y'all. Let's talk about it for a minute, and then I gotta go. I had a live stream. It it just went horrible off the bat. And I was mega prepared. It was a unboxing. It was an unboxing of everything that I had gotten during Amazon Prime Week. I'm not gonna laugh. I'm not gonna laugh. It started off with Grok. I needed Grok's assistance. I had a migraine that morning, and I was like, "Help me make a poll," because I have a headache about whether or not I should go live at noon or 5 p.m. And Grok referred to me, made it sound like I was referring to myself as princess. It's also the same Grok that said I posted a photo. Look, I'm an influencer now. When I asked it to help me compile a photo. So there's that. I actually screenshot that one. I was like, asshole. And he's dead to me. Grok's dead to me. So suck on that, Elon. The live stream could not have gone worse. It just like from the get. But it had to be marked as private because I dropped my phone while trying to demonstrate how our new pool cleaner worked. And the camera showed up my dress. Don't even try to look. It's gone. It's gone. And you couldn't even see anything, but it was just like, oh my god. And I had just yelled at my dog because he wouldn't stop barking because he's deaf now, because he's like 14 years old and he just doesn't know. So he patrols the pool about 12 times before he realizes, like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I out here? Where's my mom? Oh my god! And like, it was just so much. It was so much. So my husband, yeah, never apologize. I know. I really am not. Oh, no. I have 3 dogs, Anthony. Pearl Bailey, my Frenchie, does not bark. Don't try to catch me. Don't try to catch me, boy, because you're not gonna find me. Mm-mm. Pearl Bailey does not bark, but my 14-year-old Maltese, he does, and he thinks he's a pit bull. And the next door neighbor's dog, Brutus, my 7-pound Maltese thinks he's gonna kill, and that dog's like 50 pounds. and has a nasty, gnarly bark. And it's not going to end well for my dog. So let's all just say a prayer that Riley doesn't get to the other side of the fence trying to defend my honor from the squirrels in the dog. But yeah, this was fun, guys. Like I said, the video is no longer available. I might like toy you guys with it. If I can get to 500 subs, I might make it visible for 24 hours because you can't see anything. I hate to admit it, but it'll just be watching pure embarrassment. And that's about it. But otherwise, we will be back next week talking more about the mishaps in Minnesota. And before the end of the summer, I need to figure out when I'm going to do a live stream um, beer pong, but in the pool. And I am going to take on the 5-year loser, aka my husband, aka Frank, just to show off my skills. So I would say that any donations made probably go towards beer money. So if you do not support that, probably don't send any money for that show. Otherwise, I'll see Frank the Tank. Yes, Frank the Tank. You haven't seen the two bottles, one dude. Video. There's a video. All right, guys. I'll see you next Thursday, if not before, for one of my tutorials, one of my random live streams. But I gotta go outside and get while the daylight's still here. So I hope you had a lovely time this evening. I hope you learned something. I absolutely did. And we'll see you next week. Bye.